Hello my gorgeous ones, welcome to Alicia Budget Beauty. My name is Alicia. Here on my channel I love all things affordable fashion and beauty. I do hauls, tutorials, reviews, palette rundowns, and rankings, all sorts of fun stuff. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe, stick around, be a friend. All right you guys, elephant in the room. Yes, I do have two different makeup looks on. I filmed a video before this video of a new palette that I cannot reveal yet, but you're getting a little sneak peek at the looks here. So stay tuned for that because the palette is very beautiful and very exciting. But what we are doing today is I'm going to rank all the palettes I used in the month of February. Now, technically I used 20 palettes, but I only have 19 in this ranking because one of those palettes is another palette I tested out. I did a reel for it for Instagram and the brand decided to push back the release date, so I cannot reveal that palette yet. So even though I used 20, I'm only going to rank 19. So if you want to see all the palettes that I use, here are my thoughts. I am decluttering too, and the top about 4 were very, very difficult for me to rank. If you want to see which ones I use, see my ranking, keep on watching. All right, starting out at number 19, and I am decluttering this palette. So if you saw my palette declutters video, you did already see this in there. If you haven't seen that video and you want to check out all the palettes I was decluttering, go check that out. This is the Boss Babe palette from Buxom. Boss Babe Betty, sorry. Now, even though I'm putting this on the very bottom and I'm decluttering this, at one point I loved this palette. I did a comparison of this one to Patrick Ta Major Dimension, and it really, really held up where you couldn't really tell much difference between the two eyes. I think that maybe it got a little bit old. It just wasn't performing the same way anymore. This is several years old, so that's why I'm decluttering it. It really wasn't bad. I have other neutral palettes that I just kind of adore now. So that's why I'm decluttering it. And yes, it's 19. It was my least favorite out of all for the month, but it was not terrible. At number 18, we have another one that I have in the declutter video, and that is the Play It Jewel by ColourPop. Now, to me, I look at this and it looks like it should be ranked higher. It looks fun. There's lots to do with it. Actually, let's just take this away. I think we were fooled by this palette a little bit. I think we thought the outside packaging, oh, it's jewel tones, and we just maybe focus our eyes on like this little portion down here. But if you take that away, this is a lot of repetitive neutrals, just FYI. If you have this palette and you've never thought about that, were you fooled? But it just did not perform. You guys, the shimmers in here are not shimmering. The mattes even weren't great. I've had better ColourPop mattes before. You saw in that declutter video, I was saying I may be done with ColourPop. It's just not there for me quality anymore. So yeah, this one was kind of a letdown because I used to be really excited about it and not so much. Okay, at number 17, this palette is not bad, but it's just a little quad. I got this from Ipsy here recently. It's the Shades by Shan Life of the Party palette. I mean, it's a quad, so it's not going to be ranked high unless it was just this like most amazing life-changing formula. So it's just a quad, but this shimmer in here is so pretty. I'm keeping this quad for this shimmer alone. It's just so pretty on the eye. It's sparkly. This is a weird angle. What am I doing here? It's sparkly, it's pretty, it's reflective. This would be an easy little quad to just, you know, pop in like for a vacay weekend getaway. So yeah, it's cute, but you know, it's a quad. Okay, at number 16 is the Sakura palette from Alter Ego. Now, you guys, I kind of even feel bad putting this at 16 because I loved my look with this palette for the month of February. I specifically chose this one to use in February because I was thinking I might want to declutter it. Only because the first time I used it, I really struggled with it. Only come to find out, and I say this in the video that I have of all my alter ego palettes that I use this in, is that it was more so user error. I didn't use the right primer in that first look, but I still kind of was like, well, I don't know if the quality is quite there. So I used it this month to see, or February, to see if maybe I'd want to declutter it. And I did not have the same issue as the first time. And I just loved it. Like, I love these mints in here. They're so pretty. And I was like, well, I was kind of hoping to declutter it because I'm trying to bring in less than I get rid of, but I'm just going to keep it for now because I really, really enjoyed the look. And then next up at 15 is the Midsummer palette. Same thing. I thought I might want to declutter this one from Alter Ego. And even as I was using this one, I was like, yeah, I think I might declutter. But then I loved my look so much, and I loved the tones. Like, when I look at this color story, me personally, I don't get excited. I know some people do. These are their tones. They're like, yes, yes, yes. This is an Anastasia Beverly Hills inspired by palette, by the way. And it just kind of looks dusty to me, but there is something so flattering about these tones that I was like, well, dang it, I can't get rid of that one either. So that is number 15. At number 14, okay, this is the Nomad Love and Death. Now, I'm only judging this on the red side. So I'm not judging this as a palette as a whole, where you get this side as well, just the red side. And I use this for a Valentine's look, and this is, it's kind of limited, obviously. It's basically a monochromatic palette. I mean, yes, you have reds and pinks, and you have this shimmer that gives like a blue to it, but it's just limited. This is something that I pull out when I'm like, I need a red, but it's not something I would use every day, maybe not even every month. So that's why I ranked it lower. At number 13, we have the Catkin Cosmetics, and you guys let me know. Do you guys want me to do a dedicated video on Catkin? Because I have 3 palettes, several lipsticks, a couple of highlighters from them, like a liquid blurred lipstick, and I love this brand. Love this brand. Their packaging is stunning, for one, and it's very, very affordable. So this is it says C16, but I think it's Deer in the Woods. Deer in the Forest. I can't remember. I think that's the name. Here's the color story. And you guys, I was comparing this on my Instagram and my stories to like your Charlotte Tilbury 9 pans that I've never owned one. I've never tried one. The reviews are not good, you guys. Like, the reviews on Sephora, like 3 stars for a $70-something palette from Charlotte Tilbury. And the shimmers in here are so pretty and so sparkly that I was like, all right, this, I think I paid about, I had a 40% off coupon. I think it's regularly, I have a hard time saying that, regularly $14. So I got it for like 10 bucks. And the shimmers are so fun. The mattes are, this is a Chinese brand, so the mattes are often not the star of the show. It's the shimmers. They're very, very sparkly, very ethereal, just beautiful on the eyes. You can build up the mattes, but they're not like the most pigmented, but the shimmers are so pretty. So that is this Catkin palette. Now, coming in number 12, we have another Chinese brand. So, and this may be totally new to you guys. The brand is called Amuse. This is the Fairy Bliss palette. Guys, I got this for $4.99 at TJ Maxx. $4.99. Now, it looks like a Huda imagined palette. This is not any of the palettes like duped. It's not completely rose quartz. It's not completely like the pretty nude. It's just, it's kind of like its own amount, but it reminds me of Huda. And the shimmers kind of remind me of Huda in here. You guys, the shimmers in here are so pretty. And I had someone, my friend on Instagram, ask me to swatch this. And what's crazy, the mattes don't swatch. As in, literally, don't swatch. I would pick it up on my finger and try to do this and nothing would come off. But when I used this on the eye, I was completely able to build up the mattes and create such a pretty look. So I don't get it. It does not swatch. Swatching doesn't always say something about a palette, but the shimmers are so pretty. For $4.99, even for 10 bucks, maybe even 15, we'll say, you get some stunning shimmers in here. This is a wholesale brand, I believe. So, but they also, it's weird when you look on their site, they sell things like this for like 30 bucks for a palette. But then say you're a hair salon that wants to sell some makeup in it, you could buy 40 of their palettes for like $5 each if you buy in bulk and then upsell them in your store. That's kind of their model. This ended up in TJ Maxx and ended up in my collection, and I'm glad because I think it's a steal. All right, coming in at number 11, we have the Dear Cupid palette from Profusion Cosmetics. So yeah, out of 19, this little cardboard $7 palette made it to number 11. And you guys, this one blew me away. Not because it's like the most amazing formula in the whole world, but I was expecting, and this isn't fair because I love Profusion and I've often raved about their formula and say it's underrated. But these, you know, these collections sometimes cannot live up to their normal standards. And, you know, this looked kind of cheapy packaging. And I was like, oh, you know, these little bitty circle pants. Okay, I totally underestimated this palette. The pigment of these mattes, I was like, whoa, when I first put it down. I have a short on this. It's also a reel on Instagram and a TikTok of the look that I did. But then the shimmer, I was like, okay, well, this is just going to be one of those like satiny shimmers. It's not that good. No, shimmers were great. It's such a good little palette, and just a reminder to not judge, you know, sometimes packaging, to give drugstore a chance. I'm keeping this little palette. It is good. At number 10, this is hard. I'm going to show both at the same time because they could be interchangeable, but I decided to put this one number 10, this one number 9. These are from Kaleidos. This is their Futurism palette. So this is number 4. Really, really bright. Actually be so fun for summer. And then we have Futurism number 5. And it is more like this aquatic looking summery palette. These are excellent formula. If they were larger palettes, say these were together, maybe I would rank it higher, but they're fairly limited, but the formula is outstanding and the shimmers are really pretty. The mattes are really pretty. I adored my look that I did with these combined. So they could rank higher if this was a larger palette for sure. But because they are what they are, they're ranking at 10 and 9. At number 8, we have the Reckless Romance palette from Beauty Bay. And here is the color story. Honestly, I adore this color story. I think it's so moody and smoky, but yet you've got the berry tones in here. I'm ranking it at number 8 because honestly, it's not even my favorite of my Beauty Bay palettes. I like Age of Opulence better. I like my dark, what is it called? My mind's going blank, but it's the kind of matrixy looking, like dark, I don't know why I cannot think of what it's called. Anyway, this one, I thought it would be slightly better. And I don't know why, because it's extremely affordable for like what you get. Like the quality is great for like 20 bucks. Quality is great, but it just, I don't know. This shimmer alone is the one that kind of disappointed me. It's called After Party, and it just fell really, really flat. Some of them are prettier, like Girlfriend is a little bit more sparkly and impactful. I do like this one is Encore. I liked it better. I think I like their brighter shimmers in this palette better than their like mid-tone to deeper shimmers. They just don't give off the same sparkles. Mattes worked well. I did start to kind of notice it was fairly limiting. I should have noticed that by the color story. I mean, really, you're just getting berries and smoky tones. but still, I do, for if I want a look like that, I'm gonna go for this palette. So that is number 8. At number 7, we have a palette that really surprised me. This is the Wonder Beauty Trailblazer palette. Recently got this in BoxyCharm by Ipsy. The reason why this surprised me is the first palette from Wonder Beauty I got, I did declutter. I thought the mattes were really bad. And I mean, not like really bad. They just were not good enough to keep the palette. I figured out how to use this formula, and now I'm wondering if like this one really is better than that other palette, or if I just hadn't figured out how to do the mattes in that other palette. But what I had to do is kind of pack on with a dense brush and then use a fluffier brush to blend it out, and then it blended together well. If I didn't do that, then I wasn't getting pigment and then it wasn't blending well. But if I used that method, it worked great. And then the shimmers in here are stunning. This green is so delicious. It's so metallic and beautiful. I loved my look with this palette, and so I eat my words because I kind of trashed the other palette, but that is number 7. At number 6, we have the Warriors Wear Pink palette from Gourmande Girls. I went back and forth of where I was going to put this. I almost put it a little bit lower, and then I was like, you know what? Like, no, because this palette is a little bit underrated. And I always say with this palette, it's been in several of these videos, I bring it up often, and I always say the color story just kind of throws people off. It's this blue, I think, but it's a really good palette. And this one shade in here, Familia, is one of my favorites. It is this fiery red gold that is so pretty that it's gonna bump this palette up every time if I use it. And the mattes in here perform really, really well. So, yeah, that is number 6. Number 6. At number 5, we have a new brand to me. It is Mvndi Mvkeup. This is the Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening palette. Really long title. But I had seen this, I think, whenever it came out, and kind of passed it over because I didn't know the brand, and I wasn't sure if it was private label or not at that time. I was trying to avoid private label, but then I had this paradigm shift where starting in the new year where I was like, you know what, I'm going to give brands chances, like small brands chances, and review myself. Like, I wanted to go back to reviewing just because I was interested in something, not because it's what everyone else is reviewing. And also more affordable palettes. Yes, I've got some expensive ones in there. You'll see one in a minute, but this went on sale, and so I decided to grab it, and I'm really glad that I did. This is mainly a special shades palette. There are only 4 mattes in here. I do find that a little bit limiting, but I could definitely bring in another palette. You have several different textures in here. This is a pressed glitter. It's actually really pretty. It is silver with like multicolors in here. You have some really smooth shimmers. You have some kind of more textured shimmers. You have some duochromes in here. I really love this mustard shade. I don't know that I love the mattes that are chosen for this palette as far as like colors. I would have brought in maybe like a deeper green. Even this is kind of mid-tone. Maybe even like a really deep red or something, because this is like a Christmassy palette. But I do like my looks. This one shade in particular, this is Snowy Evening, I believe. Let's see. No, maybe it's White Pine. Yeah, White Pine. This one right here. Oh my gosh, this in the inner corner is like electric. And then I also love these 2 like metallic shades right here are really pretty. So that is number 5. All right, you guys, we are at the top 4. This is where things got so hard and where I almost said, you know what, I'm just not going to rank this month. I'm just not going to do it because I can't decide. And then I said, no, you need to commit to ranking your palettes. So this is under the kind of guidelines rules for just this month alone. This is what got me the most excited when I was using it. And, you know, was I blown away? Was I surprised? That's kind of the mindset. So these could interchange, honestly, at any point. But just for the month of February, these are my top 4. We have the Flying Fiddles palette from Adept Cosmetics. Now, quality, you guys, if you know Adept, you know, but the quality is very, very, very hard to beat. Quality is there. This color story is really fun. I honestly want to like use this more. I think if I didn't have so many palettes in my collection, I would use this way more than I have. I did do 3 looks with this, 3 or 4 in a video, but it's ranking number 4 instead of like number 1 for this month because color story, even though I love this color story, it's just, you know, it's an earthy color story, and it's not that like the wow factor is in the obviously the special shades, but it's in the like reflect, it's in the shifts. That's the wow factor for this, not necessarily what colors you put together. So it's a beautiful, beautiful palette. I ranked it number 4. On any other time, it could be number 1. Okay, number 3. This is what was so hard because this is like basically my favorite palette, is the Resurrection palette from Wicked Widow Beauty. Now, this is ranked number 1 in like my other rankings, and the only reason why I have it number 3 instead of number 1 is because I have had it for several months now. I've had it as number 1. I've used it several times. I know it. I love it. But like the other 2 palettes just kind of like really kind of blew me away and surprised me, and that's why I put them higher. But like, please don't be mistaken. This is my baby. This is my baby. I could, if I wasn't such a makeup person and reviewer, I could have this palette and like a neutral palette and maybe be fine. Okay, and number 2 is the Davini Cosmetics Ascension palette. So if you missed my video, I did do 3 looks with this palette, and I just fell in love. I have, you know, you can have emotional attachments to makeup as well that can influence your decisions about, you know, how often you use it, how you speak about it. But this, I just connected so much to this palette, and now Dede, the owner, has come out and told more of the story about how she lost her son, who this palette is dedicated to and inspired by. And then reading her words about losing her son all over again and more of the details made me feel even more connected to this palette. But I was just blown away by the quality. It is pricier. I know some people were like, I'm not going to pay that for like a brand I don't know, an indie brand that isn't like really, really well established, like say an Adept, because this is about the same as an Adept palette. But I'm telling you guys, it is worth taking a risk on. I love the formula. These are large pan sizes. The color story is perfection, in my opinion, and it just blew me away. So I put this at number 2. At number 1, and those 2, it was hard to decide, is the Blooming Basket palette from Dede Signature. I think what ended up putting this on top for me is because I was so surprised at how much I love this palette. I know my girl Smink, I'll pop her over here. I adore her. She said it really well in one of her posts on Instagram about this palette, that like she also wasn't expecting to love it so much, but like how it just grows on you and it stretches you. Like, she's so talented and can, I swear, do any eye shape, look, pattern, whatever. Even she was like kind of thrown by the color story, but also inspired by the color story. And at this point, people like us who test makeup all the time, who do looks every single day, to be inspired is difficult sometimes. So this color story did inspire me. I didn't feel hung up by it where I didn't know what to do. I just kind of went in with it. And each time I was like, whoa, I would have never paired these together. But because they're in the palette, I did. And this look is beautiful. And you guys, this hydrangeas bunch right here, this cherry blossom, when I tell you, honestly, all 4 of these special shades, but really these 2, And then this honeydew in the inner corner. Oh my gosh, so good. And the other good thing about this palette, or amazing thing, is the mattes. Same thing with the Ascension palette, by the way. A lot of times indie, it's all in the special shades, the duos, the shimmers, and sometimes the mattes are like, oh, we overlook that for the sparkle. Those two palettes mattes are excellent, excellent. So because this palette blew me away, surprised me, stretched me, inspired me, I loved my looks. That is why this is at number 1, and it is affordable. This is only $32, you guys. $32. Okay. All right, you guys, that is my ranking for the month of February. 19 palettes. You guys let me know if you have these, what your thoughts are. What were your favorite palettes? What were your worst palettes for February? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching and have fun shopping, budget shopping. Bye.